one of the things that people show me their Milky Way photos, and I'll look at them and be like, that's a great shot of the sky, you know,
Right.
or they'll show me a epic landscape and they're looking at it and I'm like, it's great sky replacement. It's an epic sunset, but the photo has nothing besides the sunset. The photo has nothing besides the Milky Way. It has nothing. There's nothing to it. And I think what it is, and that's where I say the one thing is your subject.
Yes.
How important your subject is to your photography. Not what gear you shoot, not what lens you have, not how silky smooth the bokeh is or whatever you're going to say technically or technically that's going to be with your photo. It is that subject. So how do you feel about that?
Well, having a strong subject is so important because it's a part of your message. Like the whole point of taking the photo is having a strong message, a story, right? You want a person looking at your image to connect to it emotionally, especially if you're selling prints, right?
Exactly.
You want a strong subject, right? You want your image to stand out online and to visually be very appealing. So you have a good looking subject, a strong subject that people resonate with. Right?
Like immediately, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's
exactly.
And it's funny you said the same word. We didn't talk about that before, but it's the same word that I was going to say is story. Right?
Yes.
That the subject is the story, right?
Yes.
And that's the thing. When I say subject, when I say you can interchange that with story or the meaning of your photo, or it has to be instantaneously recognizable what your subject is. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, then this is where I'll say is like, I think the one thing that the genre that has the hardest time is landscape photography. Arguably the biggest genre, right? Arguably the biggest genre has the hardest time because it is so hard to instantaneously know what that subject is, especially in grand landscapes where you're just like for example, that's the hard thing. You're standing in front of the Grand Canyon. And it's like, it's just this massive hole, right? When you take a picture of it, it just loses that depth and dimension because you're putting a 3-dimensional world in a 2-dimensional plane. Exactly. And it's what we do in that frame and how we compose and put subjects into the frame to lead the viewer's eye or how light falls. See, because like, light could be the subject. Light can be the aid to the subject. Light could be the subject. I mean, that's where we could get down to with like abstract or something. But it's that whole thing of like, you need this anchor to your photo. And like you were just saying, like, don't you find that the prints that you sell have that clearly defined subject?
Oh, definitely. Especially because my audience, I'd say 80% of my buyers are locals. They have an emotional attachment to certain places in my town or in my region. So I'm focusing on those places and what they love. Like for me, it's the Venice Fishing Pier, Sharky's, the restaurant, which is at the pier, the Sarasota skyline, the skyline itself, you know, or the Ringling Bridge, or the beach, the lifeguard stand at the beach. So you think, for me, I'm photographing places that my audience loves, and I'm going at a good time of day when the lighting is beautiful so that the subject looks its best. And I'm trying to position myself where the composition is excellent on a fine art level, but also showing the place at its best. So there's a lot of things to think about. You don't just randomly go there and just kind of, I'll just wing it. I'll just take a photo in the middle of the day and not think about anything. There's a lot of stuff to think about.
Yeah, well, I think that's what a lot of times is so hard about photography, is that when we look at our photos, and the reason this topic came up for me is I've been doing a lot of portfolio reviews, especially in the last few months, the last year, but you know, hundreds of them, right? And looking at people's work, there's great photos, but then there's certain photos mixed in with those photos. And when I get to explaining like what's missing here, it 9 times out of 10, I'll ask them, well, what's your subject? And what they're explaining to me is something that I cannot see in the photo. That they're explaining to something that was off the camera, behind the camera, had to do with the day of the week or where they were at or how the light was falling or something but it just, they couldn't describe to me the subject.
And the photo has to give you that message.
Yes. I don't
if you're
have,
looking
like,
at their photo online, like say on a website or on Fine Art America, if they're trying to sell prints, you have to give that message in the photo, right? You need to make it very clear. And so that's why you as an artist, as a photographer, how you position yourself, how you take the photo, but also how you edit the photo
Yeah.
is you make the message as clear as possible.